edition of Te Akau TV. I'm joined this morning by Jamie Richards. Morning, Jamie. How are you?
Good, Hazy. How are you?
Well, what an exciting week. I'm good. Well, what an exciting week it was last weekend, obviously, with Novair winning the 2000 Guineas. And I guess from that, I'm going to list off a couple of stats here. That was your 49th Group 1, one shy of the magical 50, which hopefully we can knock off tomorrow. And your 14th Group 1 win for the 2021 calendar year as well. It's a pretty amazing achievement. Do you want to just talk us through the Colts' performance and I guess what some of these stats mean to you?
Yeah, well, firstly, Novair was brilliant. He's a lovely colt, and the reason that the stable has so much success and that we're able to train so many Group 1 winners that aren't just about me, it's about everybody, about the team. First and foremost, that starts in the sales ring, plain and simple, and we've got the right man buying the horses. So big help when you're getting horses of the quality of Novair and Avantage, Melody Bell, Probabeel, those sorts of horses coming through the stable. It's a big kick along before you even start. So I can't thank Dave enough for all the nice horses that he's buying and all of the good people that we've got involved in these horses. He's developed a great ownership group over the last 20, 30 years, 40 years, and along with Karen, they really are a syndicating machine, and it's it doesn't go without saying how much that helps the success of the whole stable.
Of course, and that was Te Akau's 12th Guineas success now across both the 1000 and 2000 Guineas. So a pretty amazing performance. That's 7 wins in the 2000 Guineas and 5 in the 1000 Guineas. So that kind of shows of the caliber of bloodstock that David buys and Karen helps sell, and the whole operation, how it works to be able to get these good horses down to Riccarton to win those flagship races.
Yeah, for sure. There's been sorry, you go.
I guess back over to Novair. That's a great performance. He came from a near impossible position on the turn to come down the outside where not a lot of horses probably can, Jamie.
Yeah, I guess importantly, it was a sort of a small field, and even though he was last, he was sort of only 6 lengths off them, but he did show a wicked turn of foot, which I think stands him in good stead for the rest of his career. He's a beautiful colt, and he's a clear standout in the boot cage. So to everybody involved with the horse, well done, and to the team in the South Island, thanks very much, because that's been I guess an important part of the Guineas success has been able to get down there nice and early and sort of miss some of these wet tracks that hang around in the Waikato until Labour weekend. It's a well-trodden path for us to get some of these horses down there nice and early, and I think a big part of the success for why Dave has been so dominant in those Guineas races.
Right, and Novair was the first horse to, I think, start in the South Island and that lead-up race, the Watercree Stakes, since Atlante in 2003. So most of the form comes from the North Island going into the 2000 Guineas. So there you go.
Yeah.
Outside of that, the renaissance of Opie Bosson, the man's back in the saddle and he's chalking up the winners again. That form continued on to Wednesday, where he won on board Marcus Aurelius in the Group 2 Copeland's Bakery Mile, and of course the old boy Summer Monsoon. I guess he's really hitting his straps down in the South Island. He won the Group 3 Stewards Stakes, and of course you tapped off the card there with Sol Luminous winning the last race with Danielle Johnson on board, somehow getting the nod and over the line. Do you want to talk us through some of those performances?
Yeah, great day at the racecourse there on Wednesday, and as you say, it's pretty satisfying for us when you've got a reputation of being a stable that can produce elite 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds to then go out and win with an older horse like Summer Monsoon, and an older sort of gelding like Marcus Aurelius to go and win some nice handicap type races. So we get we'll get a big thrill out of that. And Summer Monsoon, he's raced right throughout his career, and he's a stakes place as a 2-year-old, and now to be winning the Stewards as a 7-year-old is a testament to how tough and sound he is. He's been able to perform right throughout those years. Lovely ride from Opie. Just sort of had to go back like his pattern is, but he got him to the outside and kept him nice and balanced. And although he wanted to roll in a little bit, he was still able to get over the top of them, which is really pleasing to see. And Marcus Aurelius, again, like Novia, where you can go to the sale and buy them for 800,000 and buy the one that everybody wants to buy. Marcus Aurelius is a little bit different. Dave and Danny Rolson from NZB picked him up, down at the South Island sale there for 13,000, and that shows what a great eye the boss has to be able to buy those sorts of horses at that price, and then go on and see them race really well. And it's a good group of young guys that I went to school with that retained an interest in the horse, and they got a big thrill out of it. Down there on Saturday, Jack Stewart and his crew, who were involved with breeding the horse at White Robe Lodge. So it's a pretty special day. 3 to the races and 3 winners, and again a big testament to Sam and Lydia and all the hard work they've been doing down there. They've been putting in the long hours, and great to see them get their awards.
And of course, we had Sam Burgesson on the show on Wednesday, and he tipped everyone the best bet, with Marcus Aurelius getting home for the team down there. So he's 1 from 1, Sammy B. And hopefully, if we get him on the show again, he'll continue that form. And just quickly, just touching on Summer Monsoon, someone mentioned earlier in the week, is he the oldest horse in the Tangerine to win a listed or stakes race ever? The answer is, do you know the answer? The answer is no. And there was a horse called Chance to Dance that had that success for Fortuna, and also Chambord. You got him home at 7 and a few months older than Summer Monsoon. So he's a 3rd oldest horse in recent times to win a listed or group race.
Well done.
Cool. So moving along, in other news, Te Akau is sponsoring a race at Newcastle tomorrow. So keep an eye out there. That's going to be called the Te Akau New Zealand, Australia, Singapore Handicap. It's a special day over in the Hunter Valley over in Newcastle tomorrow. And I imagine it looks like Chris Waller's got a number of horses lined up in that race, and I'm sure he'll probably take the cake with one of those chances. Covering off the races, we're going to have a quick look at Manawatu at Awapuni today, and then look at the fields at Riccarton and Tauranga on Saturday before covering off Waverly on Sunday. So we'll kick off at the Manawatu, which I think probably will start pretty soon. Race to the Macintosh Cranes Walker Property Building and Renovations 1200. It's a maiden affair. We've got a colt lining up, Espionage, John Barrier 10 with Ryan Elliott on board.
Yeah, happy with him. He was good first up at Te Araha, ran him over 1,000, and he sort of got back and got hemmed up in between them a little bit. He's a colt that sort of just lacks a little bit of confidence around other horses, so I wouldn't be concerned that he's drawn out a little bit. He'll probably be back behind midfield, but he'd be getting to the outside and closing really well. Side winkers go on, work's been solid. It just sort of depends how far off them he is at the top of the straight, but he can run some good sectionals, so he'd be an interesting runner down there today.
Great. And race 2, the Courtesy Motorcycles 1200 open handicap, last start place getter, top brass, has to be a pretty good chance in this. He looks pretty well placed. Yeah,
we've had this race sort of picked out for him for a little while. Had a nice quiet trial here last week. He has got to carry a bit of weight. I didn't sort of expect him to be carrying that much weight, but when the top rated horse in the open handicap's only 86, it sort of says that the race might lack a little bit of depth, and hence he has to carry his weight. But he'll go forward, race up on the speed, and should be a good chance. Just a little bit worried that track's a good 3 already, so hopefully there is a little bit of give in it and it's not too firm.
Great. And just moving down to the last runner on the card, race 4, the Bramco Granite and Marble Bradley Parker Builders 1200, rating 65, benchmark 1200. We've got Pure Imagination, Drawn Barrier 2 with Danielle Johnson on board.
Yeah, he was really good first up at Te Rapa, and thought we're onto something, and we just haven't been able to get him going as well as I would have liked in his next couple. He was playing on the synthetic, and then at Hastings last time it all went pear-shaped when they slowed the race in the middle stages, and he got flushed 4 wide, then he led and come to the end of it the last bit. So we're just going to drop him back to 1200. Not going to rush him too much early. Want to see if we can sort of teach this horse to find the line a little bit. So he's probably going to be midfield, getting to the outside. And if he's the real deal, he can close off well. If he isn't, he's probably gelded and given a bit of time. So it's up to him.
Perfect. Well, I guess moving across to Saturday's racing, we're down at Riccarton, and they've got an early start down there. I think the first race kicks off at 11:30, of which we've got a runner nominated. Radagast is also nominated down the card in race number 9. Which races are you going to take part in?
So the deal with those sorts of races, because there were so many nominations for the 65 1400, they've run a consolation race. So race 1 is the consolation. Race 9 is the proper premier type race with the big stake. So the rules are, if there's any scratchings in race 9, then he has to run in that. Currently he's 2 on the ballot. If they don't get those scratchings, then he runs in race 1. So you just have to keep an eye on the scratchings tomorrow. He's going to need a little bit of luck. He's drawn wide in both. The easier of the 2 races is obviously the second half of the race, which is race 1. But he'll be back a little bit. I don't think dropping back to 1400 holds any fears. And he's probably just not good enough to sort of be flushed wide like he was early in the run home the other day. Probably needs to be back, sort of ridden for a little bit of luck. And hopefully he can get that.
Great. So moving down to race 5, the Wuhan Jockey Club Trophy Premier, rating 74 benchmark over 1200. We've got Fashion Shoot with Danielle Johnson on board.
Yeah, she's backing up from the first day where she ran well. We elected to go back to 1200 rather than step up to 1400. Just played around with a little bit of gear on her. Even though she's bred to sort of appreciate a bit further, she might be one of these Savabils that likes to be sort of up and rolling along on those in the shorter trips. She was really good down the straight first up, and another reason why we sort of went back to the 1200. So she's drawn a soft gate. Hopefully she can sort of get up and be midfield, and I think she'll be closing really well late. Got to be, I think a nice chance in that race.
Great. And moving down to the big race of the day, race 8, the Barneswood Farm 49th NZ 1000 Guineas. Quite interesting that it is the 49th running of the edition, and you're on 49 Group 1s. It's a Group 1 set weights for 3-year-old fillies over a mile. We've got 5 horses lining up, the first of which is Imperatriz, drawn wide in barrier 16 with Danielle Johnson on board.
Yep, going really well. So we had 3 of them fly down last Thursday. That was Imperatriz, Bellon Rouge, and the Perfect Pink coming out of the soliloquy. They've all settled in well. Worked nicely on the course proper on Tuesday, and did a little bit of work again yesterday, and everybody seems pretty happy with them down there. Imperatriz is drawn awkward, which, would have loved to have seen her drawn a nice easy barrier and get a soft run, but that's just not going to be possible from out there. We'll have to ride her back a bit like we did at Matamata and hope for a little bit of luck in the straight. They've forecast a lot of rain down there at lunchtime tomorrow, so we'll just have to be very careful with how that's sort of going to affect things from a punting point of view for the punters that are out there.
Great. And moving down to Bellon Rouge, drawn barrier 8 with Michael McNabb on board.
Yep, going well. Was good in the soliloquy after not having a lot of room, sneaking under the radar. Got McNabb on, who's in good form, sort of nice barrier there with a bit of barrier speed. So hopefully she can get up in the race, and she'll be in it for a long way.
And the Savabeel filly for Tony Ryder at Milan Park, the Perfect Pink, again drawn wide, but has a gun jockey Opie on board.
Yeah, going well. Happy with her. And she's a filly that really wants good ground. So if the rain arrives, probably going to dent her chances quite a lot. Another one that's drawn wide, going to need luck, but I think she's going as well as any of them. And she's a filly that we think will love the big roomy track and the step up to a mile.
Great. And down to Shepherd's Delight, drawn barrier 5 with Samantha Wynn on board.
Yep, going well. Coming out of a maiden at Riccarton last time, but I think she ran about a second and a half quicker than Irish Red that day, so that's got to be respected. She'll jump and put herself up in the race from a handy gate and hopefully be in it for a long way.
And Irish Red, drawn barrier 1 with Jason Laking aboard.
Yeah, Jason gets rewarded with a Group 1 ride here after doing so much work with Novia for us. And, big thank you to him for that. Drawn a nice low gate, jump and put herself up on the speed. Got to be a chance if she's good enough and sees out the mile.
Great. So who's the best of the 5 chances there?
Been asked that a few times in the last couple of hours, and I will stick to the same story. I'd say the Perfect Pink is going really well, but just needs a dry track. Imperatriz, if the rain arrives and it gets wet, then that's no concern for her at all. But it's just a big question mark with Imperatriz is if she's going to run out the mile or not. But if she gets the right run and everything goes her way, she will.
And who are the other 3 could surprise for trifectas and first fours?
Don't leave any of them out.
There you go. Wise words from a man who normally trains the trifecta in the Cricket Million, or has done or close to in the last few years. Great. So moving down to race number 9, we've kind of covered off, but race number 10, another big race for the end of Cup week. It's the Martin Collins 158th New Zealand Cup. There's a fair few runnings of that New Zealand Cup. So it's an open handicap set at similar conditions to obviously the Melbourne Cup, run over 3,200 metres. We've got leaderboard for Fortuna Racing lining up with Kozi Asano on board, drawn barrier 4.
Yeah, leaderboard, his form line doesn't read very well, but he hasn't had the best of luck, and we've had a bit of trouble with his feet down there. He's a European import. Well, sorry, he's actually bred in America, but he came out of Ireland. And like most of those horses, he appreciates a bit of give on the ground, and he's just been sort of caught up on these firmer tracks a little bit. So if any rain arrived tomorrow, would be a big help to his chances. He's a horse that hopefully can put himself up in the race a bit from barrier 3. It's a horse that needs a bit of clear air, but with luck and running, and if they get the rain, he's a bolter at a really long price.
Well, there you go. So that's going to wrap up Cup week for us, and hopefully we can add a couple more wins to the tally there. So we'll just finish off the weekend and head across to. Oh no, we've got Tauranga to cover off as well. A few challenges finding jockeys in the northern region at the moment. I saw that there was a special Auckland only meeting held at counties yesterday. I'm going to comment on that quickly before we jump into Tauranga.
Yeah, I guess good for the Auckland-based people to have a meeting up there, and it did look to be quite a success on the watching it on the TV, and good for the participants up there to have something to get along to and be part of. Obviously, I think that it has been working well. The horses getting on the truck and coming down to the nominated people that were looking after them in the Waikato. But again, at the same time, from a training point of view, you love to be there with your horses and see how they are before the race and see how they pull up after the race. So whether they can, have another sort of midweek meeting again like that, if lockdown's going to continue on a bit longer. But I think all in all, that had to be a successful sort of day up there yesterday.
Absolutely, and great to see some of those jockeys like Leith Innes chalking up a couple of wins. We haven't seen him around for a while, so hopefully in due course they'll be able to travel the nation and fill up the jockey stocks, which I think will be important moving into the latter parts of the year. So across the Tauranga, we're kicking off in race 3, the Devon Plastics Handicap, a rating 74 benchmark 1200. We've got Phantom Witness, drawn barrier 3 with Ryan Elliott on board.
Yeah, horse is going well. Don't worry too much about his last run back in a big field off a bad gate. Trialled well here at Matamata the other day. He's quite a difficult sort of horse. He wants to pull hard and hang and be a bit tricky, but got the right man on to overcome that. Back to a smaller field, probably a bit like Vamos Bibi, who got back and stayed back at Hastings. Phantom Witness is similar. Now he's back in a smaller field with a good draw. Hopefully put himself up, and it got to be a good chance.
Great. And down to race 4, the Dominator Garage Doors Tauranga Handicap, rating 65 benchmark over 1200. We've got 3 horses lining up. The first of which is the Mighty Spar, drawn really wide with the informed apprentice Niranjan Palmer with a 4 kilo claim.
Yep, the horse is going pretty well. He's had a couple of trials, but as you say, he's drawn an awful gate. So he'll just go back and run home. And Tauparai will do the same. They're both trialled up quite nicely. So keep an eye out for them. They'll be finding the line strongly tomorrow. 1400 at their next start should be a more could be a better option, hopefully with a better gate. And Charmaine's Dream is going well. She's a winner on the course. Quite a difficult mare to ride, very temperamental. We're going to try and go forward a bit from the gate if we can. She doesn't seem to like being restrained back in the field. I think we'll just keep it pretty simple with her, try and be positive and see how we get on.
Great. And Brando, is he likely to start?
Yes, he will start. So just for the punters out there, Joe had a bit of a toss at Tiaraha on Tuesday. Doctor's certificate's been a little bit slow coming through. So for all of our runners that don't have riders, they are running, and Joe's on the majority of them. Horse was disappointing at Hastings last time, but we probably just rushed him back to the races after a good win a fortnight before that. So we've taken our time a little bit, given him a quiet trial. He's got to carry a bit of weight with the. He was actually going to get in quite nicely at the weights with the top weight there, but they came out at acceptances, so he's got to carry the 62 kilos. He's the class horse of the field, gets a couple of kilos off with Joe's claim and is ready to run well.
Great. And moving down to Waverly on Sunday, We kick off in race 2, the PGG Rights and Tom Andrews Contracting maiden 1200. We've got Ragamuffin for Fortuna.
Yeah, just touching quickly on that last race at Tauranga, the weight for age there, Mai Tai. She will run in the Group 2 there. Joe's going to ride her as well. She's going well. First time up to weight for age is always a question mark when they go up there for the first time. But she's got a nice low draw, and she's on the way to the Captain Cook, so it'll be a good test for her against Tabby Mack and some of these others. And just to touch quickly on Waverly, I'm not 100% sure what we're going to do there just yet. Need to make a call on that this afternoon. The track's got pretty firm, and they're forecast showers, and it's not like it's just 5 minutes down the road where we can rock up on Sunday morning. The horses need to leave tomorrow morning, Saturday. At this stage, I'd say they're probably unlikely to go because they can run at Rotorua on Tuesday. So just keep an eye out for the scratchings there. We're just in a bit of a rock and a hard spot with the track being quite firm and forecast rain on the way. But if it doesn't eventuate and, the track got a bit slippery or something like that, it's an awfully long way to go. So we might be better to stay a bit closer to home.
Cool. So those horses were Ragamuffin Outfit and Burgundy Rose. So keep an eye out for them on Tuesday. So that wraps up the weekend. Do we have a best bet? You got Navia home for the team last week. Can you give us one this week?
So we've got Navia. What? Sammy did Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius. We're going for 3 from 3.
So we're running hot. Why don't we go Phantom Witness in the 74-12?
There you go.
Tauranga.
So Phantom Witness tomorrow in Tauranga to get the chocolates for the viewers out there. So moving on to next week, I guess we've got a busy day of trialists on Monday at Taupo. There's a big contingent of horses who I guess you'll be planning to race over the Christmas Carnival and in the New Year, one of which is that you'll see the Crack a Million winner on the Bubbles step out. Do you want to give us a quick update on him?
Yep, going really well. Jumped out yesterday. Had quite jump out on the grass. Going to trial Monday with his main aim sort of being the Crack a Million Mile. He had a slight little bit of surgery on his throat, hence why he hasn't been seen in the early part of the spring. But he seems to have come back in good shape from that, and really happy with his progress.
Great, and it's likely Navia could head in that direction as well. So that'll be an interesting clash later in January.
It will be. Who will you be cheering for, Hazy?
Oh, we all know who I'll be cheering for. Anyway, and then after that, I guess we've got the Counties Cup meeting at Te Rapa, and we might see the impressive Fastnet Rock 2-year-old that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, Bright Blue Sky, line up. Is that right?
Yep, we like her. She'll probably run it at that meeting there, the Counties meeting at Te Rapa. So keep an eye out for her. We'll have Vamos Beebe in the Counties Bowl, who's a nice mare, but she's going to be a really good field but that'll be a good day's racing.
Absolutely, and of course there'll be some races at Awapuni as well. And talk us through the Ready to Run sale and when that's taking place. I understand it's at Te Rapa.
Yeah, so that's a bit of a sort of complicated process this year, unfortunately, with the COVID restrictions. So we've been round and looked at everything. The vets are going around and doing their inspections at the moment, giving them the tick. And the sale is the 17th and 18th, so that's this coming week. It's a virtual sale. There won't be any horses present. It's going to be run at Te Rapa in Hamilton. There'll be a lot of online bidding and all of those sorts of things, which has obviously been a great success through these trying times with COVID. But there's some really nice horses in there. We plan to be active. The boss is charged up and ready to go, and hopefully we can find another Ginger Nuts, Hall of Fame, Brando, Zataku, whatever it may be. We've had a lot of success buying out of the sale, and hopefully that can continue this coming week.
So, of course, that's Wednesday and Thursday, and the team will be listing the purchases on the website after they've been bought. And, of course, we'll have the live chat running as well, should you want to make contact with Akau, or I think Karen Fentonellis will be manning that. So reach out if you want to share. It's always been a great sale for Akau in the past, and I'm sure we'll buy some more special horses there next week.
We hope so.
Well, I guess that's us. So good luck for tomorrow, Jamie, and hopefully you can bring up number 50.
Thank you. We'll be doing our best.
Cool.